with next presentation, how I do it, deep brain stimulation, the beginner's perspective from Dr. V.V. Rameshandra sir from SWIMS Tirupati. Our chairpersons will be Dr. Rajesh sir and Dr. Tota Navin sir. Hello.
The
Sir, Dr. Rajesh sir, you can.
Yeah,
You
is
can.
Dr. Ramesh ready?
Yeah, this I am not able to share the screen. I think Dr. Rupam has to close the screen.
Rupam sir has to close it. I think he has.
Stop, stop
Okay.
sharing.
Before we go on, before Dr. Ramesh starts his presentation, let us give a brief introduction about Professor Ramesh. He has done his MCS neurosurgery from PGI Chandigarh, and then he was there at he's interested in minimally invasive spinal fixation. He has started the program of DBS, and he has done couple of cases, hundreds, 50 odd cases of DBS, and many other. He's very interested in teaching and also publishing and presenting them at various forums. So the stage is all set for you, Dr. Ramesh. Go ahead with your talk.
A very good afternoon. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible and the screen is seen?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Sir.
Uh, I'd like to thank Dr. Rupam for giving a very comprehensive coverage of the procedure per se. And my talk will be more of a technical talk. So I'll be, we had very humble beginnings. We have had around experience of around 35 cases in swims and 5 or 6 cases outside where I was a proctor. So based upon these cases, I will just enumerate the steps and where are the where all we have the pitfalls and where are we can we should be very cautious. So based upon that, I'll just give a talk which will be more technical. So introduction. Functional neurosurgery is a surgical targeting of anatomic structures to modulate the neurologic function, and this is one of the most rapidly expanding neurological fields. And DBS is one of the surgery which has the maximum number of class 1 evidences in neurosurgery rather than any other procedure when you compare. So basic goal is not cure but to improve the quality of life. And it is, as Dr. Rupam sir told, it's a teamwork. Basically, the patient selection is key aspect for good outcome, that is by the neurologist, and the stereotactic targeting should be accurate, that has to be done by the neurosurgeon. So and the others involved are neuroradiologists, anesthetists, physiologists, physiotherapists. And so it's basically a multidisciplinary approach to become a successful DBS program. So a program should identify suitable patients on a regular basis. You should undertake, you should have a proper evaluation protocol, should educate patients and their care partners about DBS, and should perform the DBS surgery regularly, and should take care of the patients post DBS surgery by programming and adjusting the medications by the neurologist, and all should be done probably in a economically feasible manner. Now, this is a study where the so-called DBS failures were referred to two high-volume centers and were evaluated. So, what they found was 66% of them improved by tweaking the programming or the medications with minor changes, but 34% failed to completely improve. So that was a dead end for the patients, and the main reasons for these 34% of failure to improvement to fail, failure to improve, were misplaced leads, wrong diagnosis, and no indication. So the misplaced leads, that is the purview of the neurosurgeon. He has to take care of that, and the no indications and wrong diagnosis are the two things which the neurologist has to take care. So basically, the DBS team is centered around the neurologist. So, and he has to coordinate with a lot of people: the physiologist, the neurosurgeon, radiologist, and the patient and referring physician. All that. Nowadays, there are some societies also. So before admission, like there should be the counseling should be done properly. You should educate the patient about the realistic expectations. The chances of treatment failure has to be explained, and during the procedure per se, we need the full cooperation of the patient, because he patient is the one who guides us to the lead. So the neurologist, through neurostimulation, the patient himself or herself has to guide us to the proper lead. So we have to explain the patient preoperatively what he is expected to do and what are the movements he has to do, and we should get a rehearsal for all these things. And it's important to understand that DBS will not achieve cure, but it's a disease modifier and it will improve the quality of life. So basically, coming to the infrastructure, there we need the frames, the drives, the planning software, MER, and of course the hardware. But nowadays, since there are many centers taking up the procedure, uh, the, um, the the infrastructure can be managed because the people bring the infrastructure with them, all the company people. But most important is the patient and the hardware. So either it is a paying patient, or through the insurance, or through some scheme. But ultimately, it comes down to the patient and the implant. So after admission, so these are taken care by the neurologist, the documentation, the anxiety scores, depression scores, everything is done by the neurologist. Then one pre and post of videos in all the videos, whatever. Uh, so these videos really are very helpful. One, in convincing the other patients and the physicians. Whenever you see these videos, they get motivated to send patients, and the patients themselves get motivated to undergo DBS. And some patients are not at all satisfied even after after having done the DBS with many symptoms. But once you show them the videos, they are convinced, yes, it has done some improvement to them. So before starting the DBS, the trial run is very important, for especially new centers. Check the MRI images. So you get MRI for normal people or other people. You tweak the T1, T2 weighted images so that the area of interest is seen properly. The compatibility of the stereotypic frame with the planning software, compatibility of stereotypic frame, the head fixation frame, transferring CT and MRI images into the planning software, quality of CM images, so to get the desired image. MER system also in the operating room should be tested so that you should rule out all the electrical noise. And ideally keep a separate room for a DBS patient because the high risk of infection. So and also on the day of surgery we plan such that only one OT we have, though we have two OTs there, we plan only DBS for one day so that you reduce unnecessary traffic inside the OT. So this is the surgical workflow. So the pre-operative MRI we do on the previous day under general anesthesia. The stereotactic frame is fixed. Then the stereotactic CT scan is done. The planning is done. The lead implantation followed by the battery placement and then the programming. So this is the workflow. So in the pre-operatively, MRI in general anesthesia is done. Morning 7 a.m. the frame is fixed. By 7:30 the CT scan is done with the frame. By 8:30 we do the programming, and by 9 o'clock we shift the patient into the OT. Around 10 to 1 we do the bilateral lead placements, and then the patient is put intubated. The position is changed, and by 3 p.m. the battery is done. By 4 we get the post-op CT, and here is the protocol. After 1 week or so we do the programming. So I'll take you through the whole steps because it's a how I do it session. So I'll speak about each step, some nuances and the complications we faced, the difficulties we had, and how to improve them. Now, skull block is very important because everything depends upon the patient cooperation. So patient should not feel any pain during the procedure. So you should preferably spend some time during the skull block. Is better, so the neurosurgeons themselves learn how to give the skull blocks. We ourselves give the skull blocks for and with a lot of time spending, and you have to give enough time for it to act, and then the frame is fixed. Now, the frame fixation is like any other fixation for stereotypic biopsies and all. Small posts are placed posteriorly, or all the four posts should be equally positioned, should be even when placed on a flat surface. And especially while fixation, the main surgeon should stabilize the frame, and by placing the by holding the bridge of the nose and the frame together, the assistant tightens the pins should be tightened diagonally so that there is no rotation of the frame. And after placement of the frame, the head should be in the center of the frame should be parallel to the marked lines, that is the orbitometer line and the line connecting the nasion the in inion. and the ear plug should be equidistant. So we sometimes we put cotton in the ear meatus with soaked in local anesthesia so that it won't be very painful, and the pins should be placed perpendicularly, not tangential to the skull, because there is chances of getting for the pins to misplace. Now the CT is with the localizer, the CT is done, and it's double contrast CT with avoid any movements. So there shouldn't be no artifacts. One problem initially we had passed with CD writing. Once we have planned we have uploaded the MRI images in the planning station, even a small space or a letter change in the naming of the CD will reject the CD. So we should be careful while, because honestly it will be there will be a delay in all the procedures. Now planning, the same method we know. So in DBS, every small mistake at a small each and every step doesn't stay there. It keeps on adding on. So one mistake in fixing the frame causes distortion in your ACPC line. Then one mistake in planning your marking your ACPC again multiplies. So all the mistakes get multiplied. So each and every step should be taken care of meticulously. So in the planning station, you mark the ACPC, the midlines, and this is how you play with the contrast of the CT in various modalities, and you should see the STN and the red nucleus properly wherever you are comfortable, and then you mark. So the same method as Dr. Rupam had told. This is the red nucleus, this is the STN. So anterior border of the red nucleus and lateral border of the red nucleus, the intersection point is marked, and 3 mm lateral to it, you mark it in the STN. So ultimately, this is how it is, 3 mm from the intersection to anterolateral border. So ultimately, once you see, the depth should be roughly at the floor of the third ventricle. This is the waist of the third ventricle. The lateral should be at the thalamocaudate line. This is the thalamocaudate line, and the anterior part is the anterior margin of the red nucleus. So next is the trajectory. So the things you take care of the trajectory is the mediolateral angle should be between 15 to 25 degrees roughly. The anteroposterior should be below between 45 to 60. And three things you should avoid. That is a placement of the lead in through the sulcus on a vessel and very close to the ventricle. Very close to the ventricle means you may hit the ventricle, there may be brain shift, and there are many ependymal vessels there, it can cause bleeding. So all these things should be avoided. So sometimes during planning, you may get some aberrant vessels over the STN. So we have to be prepared to change the site. So here we did a GPI one side and STN the other side. And ultimately, once you do the programming, the planning, we get the coordinates. So the left and right coordinates, so should all parameter obtained should be within the chart levels of STN roughly, and the X coordinates on the frame, these are the X coordinates. When you sum it up, it should be similar to what you have planned on the planning software. That is the lateral of our right and left STN together. Though that gives a rough estimate that you are okay. Now coming to the positioning, once the patient is shifted, now we have to position the patient to the patient's comfort. So you catch hold of the Mayfield and try to move it up and down and ask the patient which position the patient feels comfortable, and you fix the patient. Avoid very neck flexion. Some amount of head elevation is kept, and since he will be staying like that for 3 to 4 hours, we put him on an alpha bed preferably. Now again, the patient has to cooperate throughout. So we have to take care that blood, betadine, saline doesn't go over to the face. So his face should be protected. No irritant should be there, so that the patient is completely aware and he is cooperative throughout. And again, you have to adjust the table height before draping itself, because once you drape it and you find you are not able to put the burr hole, so that becomes difficult. So you adjust your height according to your height, so that you are comfortable to put a burr hole there, and you include the CM in the draping. So once it is draped, you should not disturb it. So CM is included in the draping. So avoid disturbing the CM during the procedure. So this is the view you get by the CM. Both the rings to seen through each other, and double ring like thing, and triple check the frame coordinates. You check the frame coordinates, the assistant checks the frame coordinates, and that them independently, that has to be done by third person who also checks the frame coordinates before proceeding. Now coming to the drives, many drives are there. Each company has its own drives. We use Star Drive here. So basically, this is the star drive. It has got a frame adapter. It has got an array locking carrier. This is array locking carrier. So these are the channels through which the tracks grow. So it's the anterior, medial, lateral, depending upon how you place it, central and posterior. So these are the tracks through which the lead has to go. So and this is fixed here, and this is the complete assembly of the star drive. So now again, there is also configuration. This is the plus sign. This is the plus sign configuration. Normally we keep it like this. Some centers keep it as a cross, but this is more convenient. And we have to see that the array locking carrier and the frame adapter are inline. So you pass a probe, verification probe, and see that everything is inline. And this is the verification probe, and this is how it is attached to the frame. Now, while attaching to the frame also from above, you have to make sure that it is completely parallel. So what happens here, this is how it is completely parallel. If you put this parallel completely, you get a good cross. If there is a mild tilt, even a mild tilt, the whole array gets disturbed. Instead of becoming a cross, it can become a mild multiply like thing. So the center may become more medial, or the lateral one can become more posterior. So you should take care that you place your array very parallel to the frame. So this is the array. So for in a star drive, the advancing usually starts at 20. So make sure it's at the 20 mark, and each knob is 25 micrometer graduation, causes 1 millimeter movement per revolution. So mark the burr side with verification probe. This is how we mark the burr. Repeat this multiple times, because your burr is not navigated. So you are not sure that even though you put a burr, your center probe completely goes into the center of the burr. So every time you multiple times you bring in the frame, check the verification probe so that it is pointing in the center itself. For example, here you see we halfway around the burr, we put the verification probe. We find it is the central probe is completely out to the lateral. So once you put a burr ring, you don't have place for the lateral one to go. So then you adjust a bit your since only half of the burr you have put, you adjust the burr so that the burr size increases, and then the center of the verification probe is at the center of the burr, and you can accommodate the other probes also. By doing this, sometimes, very rarely, 1 or 2 times, we find that the burr becomes too large, and you can't put the burr plug. The burr plug doesn't sit there. So in then we distract the burr plug to fix it with the two mini screws, so that we can use the burr plug, and you can use the main same burr. Initially, we used to make very small flaps. The initial days, first or second cases, we had this, the way it's coming out. Then we revised that with rotation flaps. Now we take a bigger flap. So these are the things we can get as a complications while doing the scalp tip. Now coming to the dural opening, there are many ways of opening the dura. Some surgeons prefer not to open the dura. They completely coagulate the dura, make it papery thin, and completely puncture it with a stillet. So that is one way. The other way is open the dura in a cruciate manner, burn out the dura completely, do a small corticectomy to allow the easy passage of electrodes. So if you have a new array set, if you have a new set, the puncturing thing works. But what we have found is sometimes the puncturing the dura and even the arachnoid gives some resistance to the leads, to the stillets. So we prefer to open the dura, make a small cruciate manner, make a small corticectomy. Then in the arrow tubes, we insert the array insertion tubes, followed by the electrode insertion tube with the stillet is inserted gradually without resistance, and there should not be any angulation while inserting the stillet assembly, and there should not be any force. And so we can use fibrin glue, but the risk with fibrin glue is the glue completely sticks to the insertion tube and the stillets, and it's very difficult to remove it again. So what we do to prevent CSFLA, we put some small pieces of gel foam there and then cover it with, so that we can remove it later on. So this is the so once the dura is opened, this is the array insertion guide tubes into the array locking carrier, and in that we put the electrode insertion tube. This is the electrode insertion tube with the stillet inside. So we have to make sure everything is in place. It should not be one above, one down, and everything should be completely locked with these screws. So each array locking carrier has a screw. So all the 5 should be locked. 5 should be locked. So all the 5 insertion tubes and the stillets are inserted, and then once once you reach the 20 mark, you remove the stillets, place the micro and macro electrode. So this, the red one is the macro electrode, and this, the black one, is the micro electrode. So once you move, and while advancing, start at 20, make us very slow movements, make sure all electrodes are in place and all of the electric equipment is shut. So check the earthing. So this is done already, Dr. Rupam had showed you. So this is what we get. And for the beginners, they have the, they say we hear a rain falling on the tin roof. Everything is documented. So we have a micro electrode recording form. We document the microelectric recording. So this is roughly like this. So this is the sound we get, and this is the STN. Next comes stimulation. This is the major part played by the neurologist here. Now he will decide which is the, we have 5 tracks. So anterior, posterior, middle, medial, lateral, and the central part, and through that he will stimulate. So first we have anatomically we get the best reading of MER. So anatomically we have proven that we are in STN. Now we have to decide which one of the 5 leads will give us the, which has a good therapeutic window. That is, the response should be good and the side effect should be less. So the neurologist will decide the 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 track which gives the best response, and is having the least side effects, and also the depth where to put the lead. So once he gives us the depth and the this thing, we remove the rest. We remove the rest of the stillets. One stillet we keep so that it acts as a guidance. Now from now on, everything is guided by the SIAM. So this is the electrode here. So and we place the plug here, and slowly we place it, and then fix it to the burr-hole plug. So throughout this procedure, the CM is the only thing which guides you. So after this, we should not allow anyone to come near the CM. We should reduce the traffic so that no disturbance is there while putting this, because this is the crucial step. So this is how we mark. So we have one reference, we have 2 reference electrodes kept. We have removed the rest of the electrodes. Then we mark the main electrode with a plaster, and mark the depth with a line like this. So this is the index track where we want to put. This is the dilator we have put, and this is the lead. So lead ultimately comes where we have decided. This is the center thing where we were the lead where we wanted to put, and here like this we get. So this is accurate. It is parallel to what we wanted. So another way of knowing roughly where you are is, when you plan in sagittally, you remember the orientation of the right and left leads. So this will really help you in the intra picture, because roughly this is mid sagittal what the CM you are taking. So when you see them, so this is how they are placed. So the right and left are placed like this. This is what we had. So most of the time 99% you are accurate. So ultimately in the post-op, so this is what is your goal. So the leads should be spot on your target, whichever you have planned in all the 3 directions: the axial, the sagittal, and the coronal. So we had initially we had lead misplacements also. So here you can see the lead completely out of the midbrain. Then the next day we had to revise this patient. I will show the video of this patient pre and post op, how she improved. This another patient, we completely out. We are very posterior. We had to revise this. This another patient, one lead was far superior. Then again we had to revise it. So we had our set of complications. So one thing which we found very this problem, but I don't know whether the other surgeons had this. So especially when you don't have your own setup, when you are dependent on the setup like from the company, it's already wear and tear. A lot of wear and tear is there in that, and those array tubes are bent and all that. So when you use a micro drive, it sits flush on the skull. But when you use a star dive, there is a lot of gap between your star dive and the burr hole. So there is a chance of the lead getting dangled, either the dilator or the lead. So it may not come and hit your place where you have removed the stillet. So what I do, I bring in the microscope at that time. So this is the stillet. You remove the stillet. So you can see the puncture hole here. This is the hole from where the stillet has come out. So once you put the dilator, it doesn't go as you thought, because because there is a lot of gap between the star dive and the skull, and it try to dangle and come here. So if you put blindly, it may come go into another track. So I simply support it so that it comes and falls into the hole. Once you remove the dilator, again you see the whole same thing. You push the you put the electrode, the electrode again comes out laterally, so you guide the electrode into it. So this is the small tip which I found, especially when you don't have your own equipment, and those are not very thing. Now once the leads are put, you make temporary pockets here. So this is the right and the left and right leads placed. We close the wounds permanently, but temporarily we make two pockets so that the leads are placed there. Now comes the second part of placing the battery. So we position him like this, so that and we make an incision at the chest and the and behind the ear. This is like a more of a shunt. You do tunneling, so that the idea is to connect the brain electrodes with the battery, so with an intervening wire. So these are the various, everything comes with the set. So it's nothing great, but we should be, but everything should be done meticulously. So these are the wires which are brought out, and always the this should be irrigated with distilled water and flushed with air, because while testing there is many times we get impedance, and once you go back and see, you can see some amount of blood sticking on to the leads. So each and everything should be meticulously done. You should irrigate and with distilled water, flush with air. And this is how these are the boats. You connect the boats like just like any other like a shunt, we fix it each and everything. And this is the left lead, the right one, and we tighten it. All the wires should not be put dangling out, completely nicely they have to be circled out and put uh, beneath the battery. And then, because once you close, you should see like this, the completely covered. There should not be any stretch or resistance to the skin, and the lead should be seen by the side, so that if there is any revision, you know you are not cutting the leads, you know where the battery is. So this fixation should be very accurate. So after finishing, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 scars on the scalp and 2 scars roughly on the skin. So these are the problems we had. So one patient, the erosion was there. Then we had to revise this. It was not an infection, but we found it after some time. And another patient where there was a displacement of the battery down. This was the thing. With this one patient, we had this. We removed it, and then till now the patient is doing well. That was very superficial erosion. So totally at SWIMS we had done 32 cases till now, mostly Parkinson's. We had wound related 5 and lead misplacement 4. Here we are able to do with the Pranadhanam scheme, because it's a very costly surgery. Unless we have some insurance scheme or something. But after seeing the results, it's really a very gratifying surgery for the surgeon. So I'll just show you a short video. The patient was a police constable. He lost his job once he got the Parkinson's. So this is the pre-surgical video. You can see his slowness, rigidity. So this is after the surgery. He was able to join back. This is the patient we revised. The next day we revised the lead with lot of dyskinesias. She's not able to sit properly. So she's a tailor. She lost her occupations. This is a post-op video. She able to do her job properly, even able to thread the needle. So that is how much they have the effect on them. This is a case of dystonia. This guy was also a lot of spasms, not able to sit. He has to hold his head like that. This is post-op. So 6 months post-op, I guess. He was comfortable. This is a tremor, dystonic tremor. So you're not able to hold a glass of water also, and you can see his handwriting. So after is a post-op. little bit of tremor is still left, but is comfortable, and handwriting has improved markedly. So with our small experience, DBS will grow at a fast pace, and new centers are adopting. Complications are bound to be seen and reported, but meticulous care and involvement at each and every step is very important. So it's not just like any other surgery where you say open the do the craniotomy, I'll join after the dura is open. No, you have to be there throughout. You have to see, supervise, or do each and every step. It's basically a teamwork. So neurologist should have a mind bent of mind like a neurosurgeon, and neurosurgeon should have a mind of a neurologist. So it's basically a teamwork. And hardware related most common complications are due to hardware related. Good to have your own equipment. Technological advances and technical innovations will, I think, reduce lead misplacements. I would like to thank my proctors, through Dr. Kiran Kanapure, Dr. Anand Balasubramaniam, my mentor, Dr. BCM Prasad, and Naveen. After he came, we had started this after his did his fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. That was an excellent presentation. There are some difference of opinion or some suggestions as such for the problems that you have encountered. So before that, I would like, if anyone has any doubts or any questions, you can please ask.
In the chat box is empty, sir. Oh.
Chat box is empty, so I think I would go along with that. Apart from scalp block, you can also use dexmedetomidine. So that would also calm the patients and will help them, because
Yeah,
the
they
most-
do. Anesthesia people, I think they do that.
they are giving it.
Yeah.
So again, the main problem is of the lead placement. As we have discussed earlier also, the lead placement is the most important thing. So I would suggest you to use a lead guide, whether you are using this. And when you are putting the lead, try to take out only that lead. Suppose if you have to place it in the central, so keep all the 4 intact and then put the lead. So that those other micro electrodes will help the lead not to get misplaced. So that is what is
we
more
normally keep 2 things, 3 at least, because to remove the center one, you should have access for at least one thing to go, either the medial one or the lateral one, because you approach, if all the 4 are around, you won't be able to place the center one through, remove the stillet at least from the center. So at least 2 I keep normal.
that is actually the what I started with, that you have to remove. But even if you have to remove the central or place in the central, you can just loosen the other ones and then you can do it. It is not undoable. And so that is one. And better to use it lead guide.
Lead
Okay.
guide.
Lead guide. The only problem is we use 3389, which is a smaller length electrode. So that is what is the major problem. You have to have a we can discuss it later on, but better to use a lead guide. And I think we have got in the chat box question from Professor Vijay Sardi. So protocol for infected leads. So what do you do for
infected? We till now we have whatever we have got, we have did the plastic, with the help of the plastic surgery we have covered it. So 1 or 2 are there where we have to send the cultures, and I think if they have to be, I think they have to be removed, because this is only 35 cases we have done, and I think 2 cases are there where the leads are still exposed, so we are planning to remove them.
We don't have any infected leads, no, sir. We have just infected wires here.
Actually we don't have infection. That's basically after I think 1.5 year, 2 years, we don't know. That's basically erosion.
They basically occur because we are too superficial in the plane. We have to be a bit more deeper in the facial plane. We need the deep fascia, the cervical fascia. Then these things will not occur. The other problem that I noticed in your cases, they are developing the erosion behind the ear. You're taking a separate incision there.
Mm.
That is the problem. That is where they are getting eroded. That fascia has to be closed properly, and it should be probably be there on the periosteum.
Yeah.
We,
Sure.
then how should we manage these people actually? Any ideas, Rajesh? Of Rajesh? You have to
Yeah,
replace it to the other side. You have to turn them to the other side, or
no,
just
see,
drop it up here?
see, uh, the major thing is why you have to take an incision here. The skull curves at this point, so you have to definitely take one place when you have to connect from the chest to the skull. So take that point where the skull turns around. This portion is more dependent when the patient is lying and is liable to pressure rather than this portion. So where the superior temporal line where the skull is curving, take an incision there for the connection that you are making.
You want to make it up the side. You want to see.
Yeah, superior temporal line. I think Ramesh, you can very
Yeah,
well
yeah.
understand that the superior
Yeah.
where the parietal eminence is converging onto the
Not temporal.
vertical portion. So that is the
Uh,
point where you have to take rather than just behind the ear.
Okay, that's okay. How do you think we should manage these patients who are already there?
You have got nothing to do. You have to just remove them, monitor the ESR and TLC-DC, and then try when they are all negative, try to reimplant on the other side. So at least 3
Turn
months
them
time
on
you
the
have
other
to
side.
on
Yeah.
the other side. And your flap for the bleed placement is too small. We
Yeah,
have
now
burnt
we
our
have
hands.
changed.
We
Yeah,
had
now.
for the initial patients. Then we
You
are taking
better go
patient
big.
flap.
No problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. We are.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ramesh, sir,
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
elaborate talk. Thank you, Rupam, sir. Thank you, Rajesh, sir. And thank you, Naveen, sir. Now we will conclude the session and we will go to hall number 1 and 2 for neurology and neurosurgery.